Part 1. Prophecy and the Birth of Perseus. A century before the fall of Troy, a new age of heroes began in Greece. Between the mighty cities of Athens and Sparta lay one of the oldest kingdoms in the land, Argos. There ruled King Acrisius, a man with an insatiable thirst for power. To secure his throne, he had once driven away his own brother Proetus. Now he ruled alone, with his consort Eurydice at his side. Together they had a daughter, Danae, of extraordinary beauty. But a thought tormented Acrisius. His wife had not given him a son, no heir to carry on his name and secure his realm. Driven by despair, he finally sought advice from the oracle of Delphi. But instead of hope, he received a shattering prophecy. He would never have a son. And worse still, the son of his daughter, his own grandson, was destined to kill him one day. Overwhelmed by fear, Acrisius decided on a cruel measure. He had Danae locked in a high bronze tower, inaccessible to any mortal. No man should ever be able to approach her, but fate could not be stopped. Zeus himself, the king of the gods, beheld Danae from his throne on Olympus. Struck by her beauty, he entered her tower in the form of a golden rain. Soon after, Danae secretly gave birth to a son, Perseus. As Acrisius learned of the child, he did not dare to kill his daughter and grandson. Instead, he had them locked in a wooden chest and set adrift on the open sea, in the hope of escaping fate. Part 2. Seriphos and the Fatal Promise. For many days and nights, the wooden chest drifted across the sea until it finally washed ashore on the banks of the island of Seriphos. There it was discovered by the fisherman Dictys. When he opened the chest, he found Danae and her young son. Moved by pity, he took them both in and raised Perseus like his own child. The years passed, and the boy grew into a strong, fast, and brave young man. But not everything on Seriphos was peaceful. The fisherman's brother, King Polydectes, had long since taken a liking to Danae. He desired her as his wife, but Perseus never left his mother's side and protected her from the king's advances. Polydectes looked for a way to get rid of the young man. The opportunity arose when he hosted a great feast. Every invited man was to bring a horse to the king as tribute. Perseus, however, possessed neither wealth nor horses. Carried away by youthful pride, he boasted that he could procure a far greater gift for the king, the head of Medusa. Polydectes immediately seized the offer. He ordered Perseus to accomplish exactly this impossible feat. Only at that moment did Perseus realize the magnitude of his words. With horror, he remembered the cruel stories about Medusa, the creature whose gaze turned everyone to stone. Nonetheless, he set out on his way. Part 3. The true story of Medusa. Medusa was not always the terrible creature she was known as. She was the daughter of the sea gods, Phorcys and Ceto, and one of 3 sisters. Together they were famous for their extraordinary beauty. But unlike her immortal sisters, Medusa was mortal, and at the same time, the most beautiful of them all. Every man who beheld her instantly fell under her spell. Despite this admiration, Medusa chose a life of devotion. She dedicated herself to the goddess Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, and took a vow of chastity to serve as her priestess. One day, however, Poseidon, the god of the sea, took notice of her. Blinded by her beauty, he followed her into the temple of Athena and took her there by force. The sacrilege occurred within the goddess's sacred precinct. Athena was enraged, but instead of holding her powerful uncle Poseidon accountable, she directed her wrath against Medusa. She accused her of having broken her vow and allowing the desecration. With divine power, she transformed Medusa's once flawless face into a cruel mask. Her long, flowing hair became a nest of hissing snakes, and her eyes, which once inspired love, henceforth turned anyone who looked at them to stone. Even her sisters, who defended her, were not spared. Athena transformed them into fearsome creatures as well. Thus, the 3 sisters became known as the Gorgons. Banished from their home, they found refuge in North Africa. But even there they were hunted. Warriors from all over the world sought them out to gain glory. Over the years, hatred and bitterness grew within them. Anyone who approached was killed. Exactly this fate was now also approaching Perseus. Part 4. The Path to the Gorgon and the Fall of Medusa. Perseus knew that many before him had tried to kill Medusa and had failed. In his desperation, he turned to the gods in prayer. To his surprise, he was heard. As a son of Zeus, he was not without protection. Athena herself appeared to him, as did Hermes, the messenger of the gods. Hermes presented him with an indestructible sword. Athena gave him an artfully polished shield, so smooth that it shone like a mirror. In addition, they advised him to seek out the Graeae, 3 ancient sisters who could show him the way to other necessary items. The Graeae were strange beings. They had the form of old women and shared only a single eye and a tooth between them. When Perseus sought them out, they initially refused to help him, for they were related to Medusa. But Perseus recognized their weakness. At the right moment, he snatched the eye from them and held it high above their heads. Only when they told him what he wanted to know did he return it. They explained to him that he must find the nymphs, guardians of a sacred garden. These eventually gave him 3 crucial items: winged sandals with which he could fly, the helm of Hades which made its wearer invisible, and a magic bag in which Medusa's head could be safely kept. With the winged sandals, Perseus flew to North Africa to the cave of the Gorgons. There he found Medusa sleeping among the petrified bodies of her victims. He did not dare to look at her directly. Instead, he viewed only her reflection in Athena's shield. Cautiously he approached. With a single decisive stroke, he severed Medusa's head from her body. Without looking into her eyes, he placed it in the magic bag. But at that moment, something unexpected happened. From Medusa's body sprang Pegasus, a magnificent winged horse, a child of Poseidon that had been growing within her. Perseus mounted Pegasus and rose into the air. The journey home to Greece began. Part 5, Andromeda and the Monster. From the sea high above the sea, Perseus flew on Pegasus back toward Greece. Below him, he saw the waves of the ocean when his gaze suddenly fell upon a figure chained to a rock. It was a young woman of extraordinary beauty. Her name was Andromeda, princess of the kingdom of Ethiopia. She was destined as a sacrifice. Her mother, Queen Cassiopeia, had claimed in her hubris to be more beautiful than the Nereids, the sea nymphs and companions of Poseidon. The sea god was enraged by this arrogance. He sent a massive flood over the land, and at the same time the terrible sea monster Cetus, which devastated the coasts and killed people. In their desperation, the queen consulted an oracle. The answer was cruel. Only if Andromeda were sacrificed could the calamity end. With tears in her eyes, the queen agreed. At that exact moment, Perseus appeared in the sky. Struck by Andromeda's beauty, he stepped before the king and queen and offered his help. He would kill the monster. In return, he demanded Andromeda's hand. Relieved, they accepted his offer. As the sea monster emerged from the depths, Perseus plunged into battle with his winged sandals. Again and again, his sword struck the monster until it finally sank dead into the sea. Andromeda was saved. The promise was kept. Perseus took her as his wife, and together they mounted Pegasus to return to Seriphos, to where his mother was waiting for him. Part 6, the fulfillment of the prophecy and the legacy of Perseus. When Perseus returned to Seriphos with Andromeda, he found conditions changed. His mother Danae had continued to reject the king's advances. Without her son's protection, she had been forced to go into hiding because Polydectes had begun to use force to compel her into marriage. Filled with rage, Perseus entered the palace. The guards drew their swords, but Perseus pulled Medusa's head from the magic bag and held it out toward them. One after another, they froze into stone. Polydectes also still tried to reach for his weapon, in vain. With a look of horror, he was immortalized in stone for all time. At last, Danae was safe. Perseus returned the divine gifts. Athena took Medusa's head for herself and fastened it to her shield as a lasting sign of her power. Together with Andromeda and Danae, Perseus left the island. Before doing so, he installed Dictys, the fisherman who had once saved his life, as the new king of Seriphos. Then he returned to Argos, to the realm of his grandfather Acrisius. There he was celebrated as a hero and took part in a competition. During the discus throw, however, he underestimated his own strength. The disc flew uncontrollably into the crowd and fatally struck a spectator. As Perseus rushed to the injured man, he recognized with horror his grandfather. Thus, the prophecy was fulfilled that Acrisius had once wanted to prevent. Since he had shed the blood of a relative, Perseus could not remain in Argos. Instead, he founded the city of Mycenae to the north, which soon became the most powerful city in Greece. He had its massive walls built with the help of the Cyclopes. Perseus and Andromeda ruled for a long time and had many children. One of their descendants was later to become known as Greece's greatest hero, Heracles, whose 12 labors became famous throughout the world.